Hello everyone, and welcome to a bonus 39th episode of Final Fantasy XVI, because I forgot to do something. I said that I would read the lore with tomes, and we finished the game instead, and I just completely forgot about it. The perks of being able to do this bonus episode, however, is since I finished the game quite some time ago now, I get to check out a new free update that launched, which is where we get appearances. We can actually change the appearances of our characters, and we also have the announcement of not only a PC release, but 2 DLC expansions. And I am so pleased. I'm so happy about it. I'm just going to go and assume that one of them is going to be tied to Leviathan the Lost, because it's gotta be. We've been getting fed some Final Fantasy XVI information recently about the story and the world from the Ultimania of Final Fantasy XVI, confirming that the other crystal that was on Ash was indeed Leviathan's crystal. So that is why it has been lost. Very, very cool. And obviously, Darkness, Odin, comes from Zemeckis, and Ramuh, Thunder, comes from the place where they are in, it's right on the tip of my tongue, you know, where Barnabas is hanging out. It's not Stone here. You know the one, the big old place with the crystal. You know, it's been a little while. I forgot the name of the location. But we can use the appearances option in the Arete Stone to change the outward appearance of Clive or his party members. The appearance of Clive's weapon can also be changed to that of any previously obtained weapon while maintaining the current weapon's stats. And let me tell you something that is absolutely hilarious about this is in an earlier episode. In an earlier episode of Final Fantasy XVI, we were walking through Elude, and it was around the time, I think, where we were doing our first trial, and we got the Mazamune. And I was going, man, how good would Transmog be? How good would it be to have the aesthetic of a weapon and the stats of another? And then, obviously, Creative Business Unit 3. They're watching my playthrough like a hawk. They know about me. Obviously. They're like, this guy, he's a Final Fantasy fan. And we were watching his whole playthrough. And they were like, let's put that in the game. Do you know something that's actually quite interesting that I think here is they've given us Burnt Black and they've given us Snow White, and I love that distinction. What's kind of interesting is they haven't given us the opportunity to change the appearance of Clive to his previous gear before he put this on. Like his bearer little Black Ops Squad outfit. No appearance of like his younger version either. Like that'd be really interesting, right? Have those appearances of like younger Clive and the different outfits that we've seen him in. But they gave us brand new outfits instead. Not complaining, because I love the look of them. They look amazing. Joshua gets Ashen Grey. So cool. Torgal gets Icy Blue, and even his anklet is different. And Ambrosia, our lovely girl Ambrosia, who we barely see in the story, gets Rosarian Gold. That's so cool. I'm obviously going to use all the new ones. And now you can even have even the basic Imperial Infantry Blade. And I like that we get to see the models as well, and the description of all of them. That's really nice. So you can really rock the Invictus, guys. You can make the Invictus blade actually mean something. That blade that you get, and then replace like immediately. I'm so glad that you get to use all of the previous icon weapons as well, because they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous weapons. Really cool. I want the Mazamune. The warriors of those islands situated off the far eastern coast of the southern continent are a curious lot, choosing a cloistered existence upon their lonely archipelago, seemingly content with their constant squabbling over lands within their own demise, as opposed to setting out to claim territory anew. This is fortunate for the rest of the world, as the warriors are peerless when it comes to swordplay. Yeah. New outfit, cool sword that barely fits in our little holster. But our primary reason for being is to talk with Tomes today. Something that I would actually like as well is obviously outfits for our characters that remain true to the game's world and lore, but also, fuck it, you know, give me an outfit for other Final Fantasy characters. I'll eat it up. Put Clive in a Cloud outfit, in a soldier uniform. I'll take it. Put him in Squall's uniform, in his, in his little leather jacket. I'll take it. Fuck it. Put him in Tidus's outfit, for God's sake. Make him a Blitzball player. It'd be hilarious. And then you could have Jill have Tifa's outfit. You know? Oh my god.
Knowledge hoarded is knowledge lost. You wish to study the tomes?
Okay, here we go. We wish to study the tomes. We reached max wisdom. We reached max wisdom. Okay, wisdom is at max. We're super smart. We're very smart. So now we can have a look. And this is what we're really hoping for. Now, I think what we want to be looking at is our golden bordered ones. I need to tick these off because we read these, but we didn't read the gold bordered ones. That was what we held off on. Because it was at the end of an episode. It was at the end of an episode, so we were like, alright guys, we'll leave it for next time. And then next time I was like, guys, let's go hunting and then finish the game. So Reverie was built by Ultima when he first arrived in Valisthea. From its heights, he examined the flow of ether through the land and thereby determined the optimum placement for the mother crystals. So Ultima built that place. It was his first thing when he did here. I'm going to build a really tall thing. And build a really tall thing he did. Okay, I think we can actually see some new stuff here as well because I have reloaded a save file that is our completed game data save file. And when you reload that, it is right before the final sequence. So I think this is actually new as well. So it's beneath the Dominion for countless centuries, and it was revealed to have been the vessel on which Ultima and his brethren first arrived in Valisthea. Though it ceased to function while its former passengers slept, it was finally reactivated to put into motion the final stages of Ultima's plan for recreating the world in his image. And an accolade is the Rosarian ceremony, wherein the dominant of the Phoenix ordains his first shield and imbues him with the Icon's blessing. In the year of the realm 860, heir to the ducal throne, Joshua Rosfield awarded the accolade to his brother Clive, making proof of the deep love and respect the young prince had for him. So that was a scene that was given to us in the final moments of the game there. So you can genuinely see all of the little the final additional lore notes that are added even once you finish the game. Now, the Sins of Zemeckis is an incident in which the Fallen launched an assault on the Mother Crystal Zemeckis to claim its power, and in so doing, stoked the ire of Ultima himself. In response, the self-proclaimed god destroyed the crystal, leaving behind both a great yawning crater and a cautionary legend that has since spread throughout Valisthea. In persons of interest, I actually wonder, because I don't think they got any character... Yeah, they didn't get any character updates. Yeah, I don't think we got any character updates upon finishing the game. The Ultima Civilization. The ancient civilization of the godlike Ultima Collective. Their discovery of magic helped them to thrive, but came at a terrible cost, the onset of the Blight. After their cities fell and their people perished, the few survivors fled to the untouched land of Valisthea to lay the groundwork for their future revival. The apodate tree beneath Phoenix Gate and the Tower of Reverie in Waloed are both relics of their civilization and far predate those of the Fallen. It's very interesting because I think it's actually a little bit up in the air about Ultima, because the way that it's said here is a race of ancient godlike beings. 16 survivors of their species journeyed to Valisthea on a ship called Origin. So that kind of insinuates that could have been a ship from a distant planet. They could be aliens. It could be a ship to just travel from another side of the world. You know, it's very interesting. The Ultimas share a single consciousness and are able to combine their already immense powers into a singular transcendental form, which is what we witnessed as one of the Ultimas ripped its way out of Joshua, and that made so much more sense as to why Ultima was still being a jerk while there was one trapped inside Joshua, is there was more than one Ultima. Ridiculous. The Arit Stone is a mysterious ceramic tablet that stands in the Hideaway. Though it closely resembles a relic of the Fallen, the way in which it reacts to Clive's presence and urges him to unlock his hidden potential suggests some connection to Ultima. It is likely that this stone, as well as other towers of similar construction that dot the landscape, were created by the creature before he entered his slumber in order to aid the perfection of his vessel mythos. So there's a lot of trial stones around for us to do. And we have got the obelisk, which is ancient technology of the Ultima Collective, set in place upon their advent to Valisthea in order to guide the flow of ether toward the Mother Crystals, that the land's life force might be harvested all the more readily. The obelisks are separate entities to the Mother Crystals themselves, so the latter's destruction does not affect the former's function. After Ultima cast Primogenesis, the resulting imbalance in the ether made the obelisks glow all the brighter. The Saviour myth. Among the teachings of the Circle of Malleus is the story that the Lord Almighty delivered unto his children a prophecy of their future salvation before hiding himself away in the heavens, a myth that lived on in many of the folk religions that would later supplant it. Though long considered to be naught but a legend, it is possible that this reflects a real historical event, Ultima's final words to his humanity before he entered hibernation deep beneath Valisthea. The few remaining sources disagree on Ultima's precise wording, but on 4 points they all align: that on some future day of reckoning, the incarnation of the Lord would appear among mankind and remake the world, that the advent of this incarnation would be heralded by the emergence of several heavenly servants of great might, that the Lord's faithful should rally these servants together in order to bring the incarnation into being, and that for their loyalty they would be rewarded with the greatest gladness. The children of Zemeckis is the tribe who once dwelled in the lands surrounding the lost Mother Crystal of Zemeckis. This Mother Crystal communicated directly with Origin, from whence Ultima kept watch on the world from his slumber, and so those people who lived around it had a closer relationship with their creator than most. It was they who founded the Circle of Malleus to keep the word of their lord and future savior alive. After the tragedy of Zemeckis and the first fall of humanity, the few survivors of the children of Zemeckis fled to the outer continent, where they continued to worship their god and await the day that they would join him in paradise. Ultima's thralls. Soulless automata largely composed of ether whose only motivation is to see that their creator's will is done. Ultima gave them life upon first arriving in Valisthea and immediately tasked them with defending the realm's shores from any outside forces that might seek to interfere in his endeavors. The deity now employs them solely to test the strength and durability of his self-proclaimed vessel Mythos. Ooh, and now we have this stuff given to us as well from the end of the game. Hidden truths is the answer to things. The being created humanity for this very purpose, that it might one day yield a vessel strong enough to cast the spell that would revive his dying tribe and remake the world in their image. Now he pits Clive against the other icons, that he might drink of their powers and bring his vessel ever closer to perfection. And as we know, When Clive cast his big old magic, his body could not even sustain it or handle it, and it is currently up in the air whether he survived or not. He's got a petrified left hand, and that is where we left Clive. And it's up to interpretation of who wrote the Final Fantasy book. It says Joshua Rosfield, but they're being like specifically mysterious about it, and they're not giving us a definitive answer even in interviews, which is hilarious. They're just like, who is it? We don't know. The Journal of Moss, the Annals of Moss the Chronicler, a scholar of Aletheian history who unearthed many of the buried secrets of Ultima and the Circle of Malleus. Shortly after he encountered a young Harpocrates in the Outer Continent and inspired the boy's own pursuit of learning, Moss returned to the Twins, where his long years of wandering from ruin to relic in pursuit of the vestiges of Aletheia's past finally drew to a close. The remaking of the world. Many of the savior myths of the Valesthean tradition speak of the rays, the ascension of the faithful to paradise. Assuming these myths have their roots in the teachings of the Circle of Malleus, one might assume that this feat is one and the same with the spell that Ultima requires his vessel to cast, although Ultima's rays will not save his faithful, only revive his own race and usher them and them alone into the remade world. So his ultimate spell is actually rays, which is the revival spell across different Final Fantasy games. Sometimes it's called life, sometimes it's just revive. Rays, though, and I think there's arise as well. Interesting that in this world's mythology is like top tier, fucking impossible spell, you know? Ultima's spell, the magic that Ultima means to cast to raise his fallen brethren from their eternal slumber and remake the world. To cast it, he requires both an enormous amount of ether, drawn from the land over the centuries by his mother crystals, and a vessel strong enough to withstand its channeling, the entity known as Mythos. And we've now got the first worm, which is, I guess, the inspiration for all the name of the mother crystals. Having conceived their plan to siphon the land's ether and use it to restore the planet, Ultima's brethren transformed themselves into the mother crystals and the hearts contained within them, leaving only Ultima behind. To hide their true purpose, Ultima then named each mother crystal after the parts of an ancient dragon, and left mankind with the legend that remains today. So they transformed themselves into the mother crystals themselves, which I guess now, upon reflection, you can go back to when we destroyed our first mother crystal and see Ultima coming out under this possession of Typhon, right? And we do that fight, and we fight Ultima. Seemingly, obviously we have Cid going, I know what you are, because he's from Waloed, once upon a time. So he'd probably be inclined to a certain level of knowledge from Barnabas back in the day, maybe. And then Joshua seals just that one Ultima inside of himself. That Typhon fight, by the way, was ridiculously fun. Like, that was just... apart from the fact that the playthrough has been huge, that genuinely has been one of my favorite episodes ever. When Ultima first appears, that Typhon, the first Mother Crystal, like that episode in general with Cid and Jill all together, like just an insane part of the story before it jumps 5 years into the future. I still think the 5-year jump was a little too long, like maybe 2 to 3 years max, but like 5 years feels so huge. Those within whom sleeps the power of an icon. The dominance arbiter stepping stone in the creation of Ultima's perfect vessel, Mythos. When Ultima sowed the seeds of humanity, he imbued those assigned to protect each mother crystal with an elemental affinity, a power that would amplify over the generations until the icons eventually emerged. Though the memory of their power remains even after it is absorbed into Mythos, it takes an increasing toll upon their persons to summon it. And the Fallen is an ancient civilization that thrived some thousands of years before the present day. Though no direct records of the Fallen remain, early legends in the modern corpus speak of them as the men of Magitek, right? The Mene of Magitek, the pinnacle of whose magical technology was the airship. Enormous cities that soared through the skies. Comparisons of the ruins of these airships and other ancient structures connected to Ultima reveal slight but marked differences, suggesting the former is but a close copy of the latter. Alas, it seems their pursuit of Ultima's most closely guarded secrets led to their downfall when they sent their fleet against Zemeckis and ushered in the tragedy that saw their civilization fall. Now, can we get that as a DLC expansion, you think? A prequel in the Age of the Fallen witnessing that sin? That would be incredible. Another thing that we need to think about is in the Deadlands near Rosaria, there's a door. And it's a fallen looking door, and it goes nowhere. You can't interact with it at all. It looks like it goes to a fallen spire, right? And you just can't interact with it at all. So I'm hoping to get some expansion on that too. And look at this. Ultima Prime and Ultimalius have been added to the bestiary, so that's nice of them to add some extra entries. One of Ultima's many discarded avatars, this iteration of the self-proclaimed deity was awaiting Clive, Joshua, and Dion upon their arrival above Origin. Though structurally similar to the Infernal icon, sentries within the Dark Crystal serve to dramatically slow its deterioration, preserving both form and function. And Ultimalius is the true name of the incarnation of Ultima that brought the last of his race to safety in Valisthea. When Origin was buried beneath the earth in order to absorb the ether it would need to rebuild the world, a great shrine was placed in the sky above it, from which humanity could be looked down upon. Having granted man the gift of magic and the seeds that would grow into a prophecy of the savior to come, Ultimalius placed his brethren into an eon-spanning sleep that they might one day rise again. And something that's absolutely insane about finishing the game is like all of the personality and all of the sort of character and attitude of Ultima comes out in that final sequence, that final fight, and it's great. He's awesome in that final sequence. He's very like sort of reserved and it's just like, I'm a godlike bad guy, and you know, he pops up for a little bit here and there. But in the ending sequence, it was just truly great. And then we beat him and he's like, oh man, like, fuck you and your stupid world. You know, he's like, good luck. Your world sucks anyway. Peace. And then he just like fades away. And it's such a good for a final thing where there's not even any remorse in him at all. He's just like, you know what? Fuck it. Like, enjoy your world. It's doomed. Bye. So those were the lore pieces.
Did you learn everything you needed?
And you know what? Probably a good thing that we saved it because there were some additional things that were added there after the playthrough finished. So there you go. So it's just a short and sweet little lore catch up. There's not really much for us to do. I'm aware that there's one more wall of memory thing, and I thought it might have been tied to something specific. It turns out I think it's the trials. It's all those little stones, those tablets out in the wild. You have to complete all of those for the final wall of memories. So unfortunately that's missing for now. But that's all I wanted to do, just an additional little lore episode and just a celebration. Final Fantasy XVI getting 2 DLC expansions. I'm super excited for what can come out of this because I love this game and I love this story so much, and more content in 2 expansions is such a welcome addition. DLC was not even planned before release, which is kind of a good thing. It makes me quite happy because they definitely served up a complete little platter for us. And I was always just going, I can't wait to see if they'll do more with this world. So getting additional DLC being worked on is super, super exciting. Different playable character, Jill stuff with Shiva in the Northern Wastes, Leviathan the Lost, the Fallen Age. Anything is possible. Anything is possible, and I'll be grateful for any of it. So I will be playing the DLC when it drops. I will also be playing Final Fantasy mode for this game eventually. I don't have any concrete plans yet, because I also am going to be returning to Final Fantasy XIV online. So I do have that playthrough on the channel of my Final Fantasy XIV VODs from my Twitch days, but I will be returning to Final Fantasy XIV with 2 leftover Twitch VODs that were never uploaded because just the playthrough wasn't getting views at all, and I wasn't playing it that much, so they just never got uploaded. It faded into the ether. But those VODs are going live over the next couple of weeks, and then I will be returning live on YouTube for more of Heaven's Ward storyline, and then just getting back into the Final Fantasy XIV experience, because I really want to go through I think Stormblood, and then Shadowbringers and Endwalker, and catch myself up on that as well. And Final Fantasy XVI reinvigorated my love, not only for Final Fantasy, but JRPGs in general. So I would really like to dive into the classic era of Final Fantasy, the original games that I never played, Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross, Vagrant Story, all the others in that time period that I never got around to playing, that I would love to check out. And we eventually will, so stick around and stay tuned for all of those things. But thank you so much for joining me for a little bonus episode of the Final Fantasy XVI lore reading, and I will see you next time.